Hi, Tea Parade. My next ignorance is the Bible. I'll be going through Genesis 1 to 5 because, well, I decided for the first time in my life I'm going to read the Bible. I mean, it is the biggest thing affecting my life, so I should probably get acquainted with it because I cannot escape it, even when trying. I thought there might be a possibility it could change my mind, but I've only gotten to Genesis 9 and I'm already asking questions. I feel now is the time to try and get answers. Disclaimer, I'm only putting my opinions to what I've read so far. I have outside opinions, but I'm leaving those alone. Let's begin. Genesis 1. So God created life within a span of 6 days, seventh day to rest, creating heaven, earth, light, dark, animals, sex, and humans in his image. Very straightforward, not much to this. So, one thing I keep noticing, it repeatedly says he saw it was good. I'm not sure I'm overreading this, but it is worded as if it's an experiment, like the outcome is not something definitive. Maybe the later chapters are going to answer this. And also, he created heaven. Where was he before? Also, God is a him. A lot of questions in regards to that, but I'm going to leave it alone. Genesis 2. So during the 6-day creation process, there was no one to cultivate the soil, so he created male from dust of the ground and breathed life into the man's nostrils, and the man became a living person. A garden in Eden was planted, and in the middle was a tree of life and a tree of knowledge. The man was warned not to eat of the tree The man was warned not to eat the tree of knowledge of good and evil, else he will die. The man got introduced to all the animals and gave them names, but in the midst of that, thought that the man needed a helper. He then put him in a deep sleep and took one of his ribs and made a woman. They were naked with no shame. That's important in the next chapter. So, first of all, a rib. Why was a man the first to create human life, but then women were delegated to do that after that and further on? Secondly, does die mean immediate death or not immortal? Thirdly, why did God create the fruit in the first place if he wanted no one to have it? Like, who is the fruit exactly for? Lastly, why is knowledge so bad? And in this case, does knowledge mean consciousness? It can't be that because the man is able to make conscious choices already, so I do not understand the tree of knowledge. But it will probably be explained later on. Genesis 3. The serpent, made by God by the way, comes through and is like, God's lying to you. You'll only be like him, and you'll only be able to see good and evil. Tempted and convinced, she goes and eats the fruit. No mention of apple, by the way. Then gives the fruit to her husband. Their eyes open up, and they realize they're naked, so they hide themselves in shame. God, taking a stroll, tries to call for them, and the man admits to being naked. Shocked, God asks how he knew about nakedness, and the man blames the woman, and the woman blames the serpent. God curses everyone. He takes away the serpent's legs and curses the entire lineage. He curses the woman with painful pregnancy and never being able to lead but always wanting to. The man, for listening to the woman, he cursed the ground and will forever need to scrounge for food. God makes animal skin pelts and says the humans have become like us, knowing good and evil. He banished them from the garden, fearing they would eat from the tree of life and become immortal. So, my questions. Again, why does the tree exist? Why does the serpent exist? I don't understand. Secondly, I did not notice that God was walking among them. Where was Eden? Thirdly, he says us, but I don't know who else us is. But it's way too early to answer that question. I presume it just came. Thirdly, he says us, but I don't know who else us is. But it's way too early to answer that question, I presume. It just came out of left field, that's all. Also, I guess I was wrong earlier, so then my question comes back to, why did they not die? Also, why no warning for the tree of life? I know it says middle trees later on, but still. Lastly, husband. Marriage was already a thing? Okay, we move on. Genesis 4. The man, now Adam, the woman, now Eve, have the first child Cain. Then a second child, named Abel. Abel becomes a shepherd, while Cain cultivated the ground. They both presented gifts to God. Cain, some crops, Abel, his firstborns of his lamb from his flock. God says yes to Abel, but rejected Cain. Cain got jealous and killed Abel. Prior, God warned him about his anger and advised that all he has to do is the right thing. Cain, being the first to ever murder, was cursed and banished, though anyone who tried to murder him would be punished sevenfold. God gave him a mark to display that sentiment. Cain had a son with his wife and established a city named Enoch after his son. And at the end, and that is the end of the chapter. So, why was Cain rejected? Not explained. Also, what were the right things that he had to do? Secondly, why is he protected if someone else tries to kill him? I mean, he is punished to be homeless, but I am curious about why someone else will get worse punishment. Lastly, I guess his wife got banished too, or followed him, not specified. We go. Genesis 5. So far, this seems to be about establishing the timeline until Noah, and I'm going to skip that part. And in my next video, I will be looking into the story of Noah and flooding. See you then.